So one particular quote about trans fats before we move on to the next tip is a quote by Dr. Ann Culsey from her book. Simply put, trans fats are poisons. They are truly toxic substances and represent the unhealthiest ingredient in our food supply. Think of them as the food equivalent of tobacco. There is no known safe limit for any amount of this sinister, noxious agent. You think she's not too thrilled with trans fats? So again, I'll have a copy of this here if you want to take a peek at it, and I'll leave it with you. Do you remember the old food pyramid? It was probably put together by the grain growers of America, because the bottom was like, eat your wheat, eat your potatoes, eat your rice. And then they changed it, and they had the little vertical food pyramid with a little stick figure running up the side of it. And nobody knew what it meant. So that only lasted a couple of years. But that's when they came around to the Choose My Plate, which is all about portion control, which is proven to be one of the best methods of all. And again, that website, that choosemyplate.gov, is excellent. It has all sorts of useful information, calculators on it, ways to personalize your own nutritional plan. Okay, here's a big one. Who got a good night's sleep last night? See? This is representative of America, that about half of Americans don't sleep well. What's important, I also do a program just on sleep. It's called Sleep from A to Z, 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 Z. And it's really an important, it's a crisis because people don't realize the physiological damage that can occur to your body as a result of not getting enough good, sound sleep. You may have heard, and if you haven't, I'm going to tell you now, that lack of sleep has been linked to weight gain. That there's two hormones. There's leptin and ghrelin. I always remember ghrelin because it's greedy ghrelin. It's the hormone that makes us hungry. And leptin suppresses our appetite. If we're not getting enough sleep, we tend to produce more ghrelin and less leptin. And we're resistant to it. Also, if you're not getting enough sleep and you're awake more hours during the night, you've got more opportunity to eat. I wake up in the middle of the night, what am I going to do? I'm going to eat. So that's an important thing. Speaking of color, because we were talking about what color can act as an appetite suppressant, if you have a brightly lit clock next to your bed, can anybody tell me what color those numbers should be?
Green.
Somebody said it, I think.
Red.
Red, yep. Yep, because red has been shown to minimize the interference with melatonin, our sleep hormone. So if you have a nightlight, have it be a red one. Just remember a dark room. I wonder if there's any correlation there. Smells are very important for sleep as well. Lavender, the smell of chamomile, jasmine. How about foods? Seeing as how it was just Thanksgiving, is it a fact or a myth that we get sleepy after Thanksgiving dinner from the tryptophan in the turkey? It's a myth. It's a myth. We get tired because we eat too much. And we're eating a lot of starchy things. And our blood sugar goes up and down, and maybe we've had a couple glasses of wine. That's why we get sleepy. Actually, tryptophan is the least occurring amino acid in the turkey. So it has to fight with all the other amino acids to get across that blood-brain barrier. And it loses. Like the Lions, although they won this year, didn't they? Yeah. That was quite a change. So that's a myth. Alcohol and caffeine are also important considerations this time of year. You probably know that alcohol, a glass of wine, can help you become sleepy and get to sleep. You may also know that it can cause you to wake up for a couple of different reasons. Number one, you gotta go to the bathroom. Number two, say you have one glass of wine. Your liver is going to dedicate all of its resources to detoxifying that alcohol. Your nervous system gets depressed because alcohol is a depressant. When it finally gets out of your system, you get a little boink, you get a little rebound, like a little mini tiny hangover. And that little nervous system rebound might be enough to wake you up. Caffeine, on the other hand, metabolizes very differently in our bodies. How many regular coffee drinkers do we have?
I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad to see that the research that's come out recently, that caffeine really isn't that bad. It's actually, it can be very beneficial. It's a nice temporary metabolic enhancer. Like with nutrition, I'm finally glad they're done demonizing eggs, for example. You know? It's like, thank God, I missed my eggs. And a lot of other things too. So a lot of the research that's come out has really been positive. The thing with caffeine though, if you are sensitive to it, is that it's not metabolized. If I have a cup of coffee with 100 milligrams of caffeine, 4 to 5, maybe even 6 hours later, I might still have 50 milligrams in my system because caffeine breaks down in what they call a half-life. So if you have a lot of caffeine early in the day, by the end of the day when you think it's all gone, you still might have enough in your system to make it more difficult for you to relax and sleep. And then there's other people, like my stepbrother, who can drink 2 12-cup pots of regular coffee a day and sleep like a baby. I hate him for it. It's not fair. I have 1 cup of regular and I'm shaking like a leaf. So that's something to keep in mind about alcohol and caffeine. Because this time of year, again, there's a lot more of it going around, it seems. But the sleep program that I do is a lot of fun too. There's a lot of history to sleep and a lot of modern ideas about sleep that have only come about within the last couple of generations. But again, you can let Ellen know if there's ideas for other topics that you'd like to hear more about. So, next topic, next tip. See these little things?
Yeah.
You know, how many years do you think they've estimated? They did a study, Canadian Dental Association, on how many extra years you might be able to add to your life just by flossing once a day.
I would say 5 years. 10 years.
They say between about 6 and 7.
Wow.
And those of you who've had pets know that as your cat or dog gets older, your vet will say, you might want to get their teeth scaled. Because that bacteria, just like if you don't floss, that builds up, can get into your system and cause a great deal of problem. That's a lot of bacteria that can build up, and flossing at night is the best time because we produce less saliva while we're sleeping. My vet has always told me that for years. I've also begged him for years to be my primary care physician. Because every time I go in to talk to him, first thing that comes out of his mouth is, "Hey Chris, how you doing today? Sit down. What's going on?" I go into my regular doctor, it's like, "You got 5 minutes, what's wrong with you?"
Exactly.
But not all doctors are like that. He won't do it though. I'm still asking him. Maybe someday. I think he'd be very good. He's been always good to my dogs. You know how you can tell? Being a personal trainer, I became an expert on bad breath. You can't smell your own breath. But you know what you can do if you want to check it? It's kind of silly. You lick the back of your hand, and then you wait 30 seconds, and then you sniff it. I don't see anybody doing that, so that's good. That's good. Health screenings. Very important. You know what my favorite health screening is? The DEXA scan, the bone density test. Why? What's so nice about it?
You just lie there in the machine.
Yeah, it's painless. If I could choose between that and a colonoscopy, I'll go with a DEXA scan. But to get another thing about sleep and the flu vaccine. Who's gotten their flu shot? It's good. If you're not getting enough sleep, your body won't use the flu vaccine as effectively. And it might not work as well for you. So that's important. And Pneumovax, check with your doctor if he thinks that's something that you should be getting. The shingles vaccine, very important. Very important. Stress can bring on an outbreak of shingles, depending on your circumstances. And gee, do we ever get stressed out this time of year? Not me, not anybody. And a lot of your screenings like blood pressure and cholesterol are important because why? If you have high blood pressure or high cholesterol, you don't know. You might not know, have any clue. So there are enough risk factors that we can't control, that we should control the ones that we can. My mom was lost due to a heart condition at age 44. And I just lost my father over this past summer to complications from Alzheimer's. And then he'd lost 2 of his sisters within the last 10, 12 years to complications from Alzheimer's. And they have not defined a specific genetic link, but it's still considered a risk factor. So between, heart disease and dementia and Alzheimer's, I better watch my step. And I'll make sure not to text while driving. I've seen a great bumper sticker. It says, "Honk if you love Jesus, text if you want to meet him." So I thought that was pretty good. And that's true too. As far as your family history, again, you can't pick your parents. I was at a health fair not too long ago, and I picked up a flyer from the Cancer Society on prostate cancer. And this is nice. I like the way this reads. If testing finds prostate cancer, it is not clear which men will have a cancer that will be a threat to their health or cause death. If testing finds prostate cancer, it is not clear which men will have a cancer that will not affect their health. It is not known which men will do well with treatment. It is not known which men will do well with no treatment. What does that say? And I asked the guy that was there with the Cancer Society, and as soon as I asked him, I'd answered my own question. I said, why does this seem so ambivalent? And then it dawned on me that it was all about driving that conversation with your doctor. Because he's going to know your family history, your current condition, medications that you're on, all those things. So it's just good information driving that conversation. And that's all I'm going to say about that tip.